Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. This video is about the strange disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. First of all, who he? Well, he is a Saudi Arabian journalist, 60 years of age, and he is very well got. His grandfather was the personal doctor to the King of Saudi Arabia. They're a family of Turkish origin. His uncle, Adnan Khashoggi, was a billionaire arms dealer in the 80s. There was a scandal about him. He really put the cash into Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi's first cousin is Dodi Fayed, the former lover of Princess Diana, died in a car crash with him. So Jamal Kashoggi, he went to university in the United States, spoke fluent English, was a journalist for the Washington Post. Previously, he had been an advisor to the royal family, with whom he was very close. In the last few years, he had a falling out with them, and he became a vociferous critic of the House of Saud, which is, the country of Saudi Arabia is almost an absolute monarchy. They have an elected element at the moment. So he was a legal resident of the United States. So much for Trump's total and complete shutdown of Muslim immigration. Because Khashoggi comes from the most Islamic extremist country in the world. Not that Khashoggi had that mindset. Shows how moronic Trump's rhetoric was. He will denounce Muslims, appeal to Islamophobia, and then hug the absolute monarch of the most Islamic extremist country on earth. So Khashoggi was in Istanbul, Turkey, and he went into the Saudi Arabian consulate to get some papers finalising his divorce. He wanted to marry a Turkish lady. Of course, in Saudi Arabia, a man is permitted up to 4 wives. Not so in Turkey. Anyway, he went into that consulate, and he has never been seen again, or heard from again. What could have happened? Well, the question is, dead or alive? Now, more likely dead. Because if he were alive, presumably the Saudi Arabians would like to provide proof of life to take the heat off them. With every passing day, without any proof of life, the chance that he is no longer with us grows greater and greater. Because abduction is obviously not as grave a crime as murder. So he went into that consulate. His fiancée was waiting outside for hours before she alerted the Turkish police. There's CCTV footage from going in. Even the Saudi Arabian authorities admit he went in. That much is agreed upon. And then he claims he went out. It's obviously a flagrant lie because there's no CCTV footage of him coming out. Why would he not contact people? He didn't pick up his mobile phone messages, within a few minutes of going into the consulate. He's never been seen again. So why won't they release footage of him? The Saudis claim that it's not recorded, which is blatantly bull. And processing paperwork, will they even release the paperwork? Presumably would have to sign it. They've not even done that. They have been so cack-handed about this. It's a completely ham-fisted attempt to eliminate him, murder him, possibly abduct him. And so they've provided no corroborating evidence whatsoever. They're just that indiscreet about it. Really being clumsy here. So what would have happened to him? Overpowered, possibly sedated, and possibly killed. Maybe not sedated, just killed straight away. Or if they were going to simply abduct him, I would guess sedate him, maybe not, tie him up, put him in a box, carry him out. There were some cars, diplomatic cars leaving the consulate, couldn't be stopped or searched by the Turkish police. Private planes flew back to Saudi Arabia within hours of Khashoggi going into that consulate, so he could be in a box under one of those under heavy sedation or not, flown back to Saudi Arabia, thrown into a fetid dungeon, never see the light of day again, or possibly killed once he's in Saudi Arabia. So the Saudis perceive this as a family affair. Saudi Arabia doesn't do rights. So they probably are mystified as to what all the fuss is about. Well, why would you care? Is our man, we did it on our territory, the consulate, nothing to do with you, so back off. Keep your nose out of it. We wouldn't care if you killed your people. And what's Khashoggi been killed for? Telling the truth, saying things. In Saudi Arabia, terrorism can be protest, and I mean it. Criticizing the king, or even a deceased king, is a crime in Saudi Arabia. They've got the broadest possible definition of terrorism. It's just a legal catch-all to terrorize the population, to strike fear into people who would like to speak out against oppression. So he is probably dead. So did the Saudi Arabians do no impact assessment of what killing him would cost them in terms of international standing, alliances, commerce? Maybe not. Did they hugely underestimate the pushback? Or maybe they said, no, there's going to be pushback, but you know what? It's worth it. It's a price we're willing to pay for the goal of getting rid of Khashoggi, because it's worth it. Kill one, frighten 100. We'll scare off anyone else who would dare speak out against us. Mohammed bin Salman is the crown prince. He's the effective ruler of Saudi Arabia, not the king, who is elderly and ailing. So they want to put the fear of the Lord into dissidents. And that is that. Now, Khashoggi, think about it. He is out of the draw, very wealthy, a renowned international journalist with plenty of friends in high places. If this can happen to him, what can happen to other people? Other people can be killed or kidnapped much more easily. What if you're a poor Pakistani labourer in Saudi Arabia? You can be got rid of like that. What if you're a Filipino maid there? You know, again, you have no rights. You can be slung into prison without trial or charge for decades, just like the United States does with people in Guantanamo Bay. So this obviously is troubling. And then I've heard a lot of high-minded verbiage on American television, like Morning Joe, a show that I really enjoy, saying, Trump's trading our values for money. Well, yeah, countries have always done that, particularly the United States have always done that, for temporary alliances say, well, we're just going to turn Nelson's eye to this human rights abuse because we have a good business relationship with them, and money is the bottom line. Money matters, human rights don't, or we need their help in this conflict, so we're just going to overlook the crimes they're committing because we need their cooperation. The thing is, Saudi Arabia desperately needs the United States. The Saudis are very worried about Iran, its growing influence in the region. The Iranians are more or less won in Syria. They've got a lot of friends in Lebanon. They're fighting in Yemen as well. So Saudi's more or less given up on Syria, concentrating on Yemen, which borders them, whereas Syria does not. There's a lot of Iranian influence in Iranian troops in Iraq as well. So the Saudis are frightened. Obviously, Iran's growing, its economy is diversified, and they are scared that Iran might be developing nuclear weapons. So Saudi Arabians desperately need American help, and indeed Israeli help. So that's the unholy alliance for the Saudis. Teaming up with Israel is like making a pact with the devil, but they feel they're obliged to do so. So because they desperately need American support, then you've got a lot of leverage over them, Washington. Because where would they be if the United States say, we wash our hands of you, we don't give a damn about the Middle East. Iranians, if you want nukes, doesn't bother us. Then the Saudis would really be in a pickle and have to come to an accommodation with Iran. So it's now a racing certainty that he is dead. I would like to see Saudi Arabian ministers put on the spot. Are you willing to swear on the Holy Quran that he left there alive? Even in the best case scenario, he is not a free man. So it was a very low thing to lure him to the embassy. The other, obviously didn't deserve to be killed or any punishment, but he was very foolish to go there. He, more than anybody else, would know what the Saudi Arabian government is like. And obviously he was complicit in oppression up until this point. Anyway, much joy in heaven over a sinner who repenteth. I'm glad that at least in the last few years, he finally found the gallantry to speak out against the cruel regime he worked for previously. I wish to emphasize I'm absolutely not anti-Saudi Arabian. I've known Saudi Arabians, I've had them as friends, as students and so on. I lived in Saudi Arabia a long time ago. I've even been offered jobs there. It wouldn't be a wise idea for me to go there now, after what I've said. So I would like to see it reform, become a free country, it becoming a proper democracy. I think that was a bit far-fetched. There's probably too much to hope for. If it could be a bit less oppressive, well, that would be nice.